How worried are
Good
you?
day. Oh, I'm not worried for the world in that I really do believe that a lot has been learnt, and at the same time the virus is evolving. But I am worried for individuals who may be at risk because they are in the older age group or because they have other conditions that mean that they are likely to get severely ill. Or I'm worried for people who've decided not to be vaccinated because I think their risks are greater as well. So it depends on who you are. And I've got my usual selection of tips that I would love to offer to people if they are wondering what they ought to do today, whether to go out, whether to wear a mask, and so on and so forth.
Well, tell us. Do tell us.
Now, thank you. You see, the new variants of this virus, they're called BA4 and BA5 of Omicron. They seem to be pretty good at dodging past the protection that some of us have from vaccination. And so we can get ill with COVID even though we've been vaccinated. Now, the illness, having just had it myself 4 weeks ago, the illness is pretty nasty and it knocks you out for a week to 10 days if you're unlucky, or for a few days if you're okay. That illness is, for most people, survivable, but it's because a few people are likely to be at high risk, and also because of the constant worries about long COVID, that I think people should still keep their masks in their pockets or in a little bag in the glove compartment of the car or in their handbag or briefcase, just because if you're going into a place where there are a lot of people up close together, all the evidence is that that's where your risks are greatest. And in addition, if you start to feel feverish with a cough and you're not able to get yourself a COVID test quickly, then again, you should wear a mask to protect other people. So that's what I ask everybody to do, is use your mask and use it when you're feeling ill or use it when you think you're at risk. And do maintain that physical distancing. Going up and giving someone a big hug, saying, I've missed you for so long. If you're unlucky, that can also be the time when you give them COVID. So be careful on the up close and personal stuff. Even though we all want to do it, it also carries a risk. In summary, we're getting through this pandemic. We're not through it yet, but we seem to be getting through it. And for many of us now, the illness will be an inconvenience rather than life-threatening. But remember, there are some who are going to be badly affected, and they won't be us necessarily. They might be people that we just bump into and we accidentally infect. So please, let's be responsible as well.
What about the general population, Doctor? Not those who are necessarily, likely to be incredibly ill if they do
Yeah.
succumb to COVID. If you've had, the more times you've had COVID, are you building up immunity against it?
Sadly not. We don't think that the more times you have it, the more immunity you have, because the virus is changing. It's like it's changing its overcoat all the time. And that means it can duck past the antibodies and other protections that we've had as a result of previous infections. So I'm not one of those people who believes that the more times you get it, the more resistant you'll be. I just think that the more times you get it, the more likely you are to be unlucky and end up with long COVID, which is the thing that none of us want, because it can be so serious. It can knock people off their stride for several months.
The thing is, people don't necessarily know they've got COVID, do they? Because we
No.
don't test as a routine anymore here in the United Kingdom. And a lot of people at the moment have got hay fever. So they don't know
Yes.
if the symptoms are similar, which they are for some people. They don't actually know if they've got COVID.
My son told me that just over the weekend. He said, my hay fever's getting bad, Dad. And I was just thinking to myself, I still hope you'll do us an auto test, as we call them, one of these little tests that we can all do at home. Unpleasant sticking the thing up your nose, but you can get a result within minutes. I do encourage everybody to have a few auto tests at home. And just in case that's not hay fever, but it's COVID, it's good to know, because if it is COVID, you don't want to be infecting others. I know that it's difficult having to do the tests on yourself, but that's the way it is. And I do encourage everybody to keep a stock at home if they possibly can, and to use them when they feel poorly.
Okay. Actually, here at Sky, we still test each other twice a week, so we're sort of, aware of whether we have got COVID or
Yeah.
not. Just a quick thought before I go. I, of course, could not let you go without asking about Otto.
Talking, walking, beautiful, absolutely the most adorable child, able to Zoom with him regularly. And I was able over Easter to be with all 6 of my astounding grandchildren, even though COVID had messed up our reunions for the last 2 years. I mean, I feel it like everybody else does. Isn't it so good that people are able to get moving around again? They're able to get talking and seeing those they love. And so for me, the real challenge over the next few months is to have the fun, to get life back onto the rails again, but at the same time do everything we can to avoid just being caught unluckily by this still quite frustrating virus.
And how's their granddad doing after his bout of COVID?
Oh, it's knocked me awfully when I had it. I would get really tired, like I was hitting a wall when I wasn't expecting it. And it's taken me 3, 4 weeks to really get the back of it. And I still have odd days when I feel remarkably tired. That's what it's done for me. It's made me feel super, super exhausted. With others, it's made them feel uncomfortable where they've had a bit of discomfort in a joint or something like that. It seems to be capable of kind of reigniting it. It's a perplexing virus, this. I'm sure everybody who's watching thinks, yeah, well, I've had my own version of COVID, and we can't easily say there's just one pattern of illness. It's very variable.